Hello, I'm Jen Spencer, and this is Jen Spencer's 10-Minute Book Club. Hello, readers. Thank you so much for being here tonight, my 10-Minute Book Club. Tonight, I'm going to be interviewing Stanalei Fletcher. She is the sweet romance author of Into Something Good. Remember, if you make a comment or ask a question in the comment section below, you will be automatically entered to win either a copy of Jessie and James by me or Into Something Good by Stanalei Fletcher. We'll leave those comments open for 24 hours and then we'll pick two winners. I want to show you Stanalei's cover for her book. I've read some of Stanalei's books before and she is an amazing author. So now I'm so excited to introduce to you Stanalei Fletcher. Stanalei, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
I'm so excited to have you. Stanalei has been a dear friend of mine for a long time. We met at Utah Romance Writers, and she was probably the first Utah romance writer to read my very first book, and she was so kind about it. And anyway, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, just a little bit about that book. I think that's the Jessie, right? The one with Jessie?
No, in fact, I'm going to publish it in the next few months.
Okay, cool.
Never seen the light of day.
So. Oh, okay. I thought this new one coming out was maybe that one that you were finally getting between the pages. So that's awesome, though.
The very first one. So Jessie and James is in that series, but the very first book I wrote was called Rachel and Riley. Okay. And yes, it's coming out.
Cool. I'm excited for you. That's great. That's great. Okay, a little bit about myself. I started my writing career in earnest around 2001. It was sort of dabbling, getting going on it with fan fiction a little bit. You know, I was reading a lot of fan fiction. It was a lot of fun. And I was thinking, I could do this. So I started kind of playing with it and thought, maybe this is something I really want to do. So I took a writing course through the community school. They don't have them like they used to, but through the community school in our area, they would send out flyers or little booklets to say this school was going to be holding these classes, and talked my husband into letting me take a break one night a week from my martial arts training to go to a writing course on that night. So, and that's kind of where it all started in earnest, in terms of really wanting to write a novel and really wanting to get published. I have a romantic suspense series of 5 books based on a company called North Star Security. It's a security agent, and the stories are based on the agents and their adventures that they go on. Each book is kind of a standalone. My first book was that.
I've read one of those where they're climbing up the rock.
Yes.
Which one is that?
That one is Proving Ground.
Okay, that's right.
That's the first one that was published in the series.
So good. Oh my goodness.
Oh, thank you.
So exciting. So romantic.
Yeah. My first published book was a time travel called Lightning Only Strikes Twice. Oh. And I have a short story that's based on a dreamscape called Imperfect Dream, Perfect Dream, Imperfect Reality, I believe is. Now I don't remember the title exactly. It's in there somewhere.
That's okay.
You can find it on my website, and so, you know, if somebody's interested in looking at it. I'm currently working on a series that's called That Special Something series. The first book in the series was published in 2020. It's called Into Something Good. And I'm working on the second book. It's going a little bit slower than I'd like, but it is got some chapters that are starting to come to fruition. I am married. I have a blended family. I have a stepdaughter and 3 sons, and each of those have children, so that makes me a grandmother too.
And so how many grandkids do you have?
8, and we just learned about a granddaughter on my husband's side or a daughter on my husband's side who has 4. So that added 4 more
Wow,
to the
instantly.
mix. Yeah, it was one of those DNA chase the genealogy, and she was uh, adopted at birth, and he didn't know he had a daughter. The
Wow.
mother didn't know who the dad was. So, one of those early, very teenage things that sort of happen. And she's a wonderful gal with a wonderful set of children. We actually just had a barbecue with them this last weekend. So it was a lot of fun.
That is amazing. I've heard so many stories like that
Yeah,
with the whole ancestry.com and just the DNA sites. And
right.
that is incredible. I think it just opens up so many wonderful new relationships for people. That just,
I think it does. It's been a good one for us. We're still kind of feeling our way, and she's well over 50 herself, and she has had her family and has her own life. So it's not one of those relationships where they just want to suddenly join the family, and we're not reaching out to have them suddenly join the family. Everybody's had their own agenda for years and years and years. So
yeah.
it's more of a friendship at this point.
Well, so tell us about the book, Into Something Good, because we're
Into
getting
something,
a copy of it.
okay. Yeah, it's a contemporary romance. It's a sweet romance. Into Something Good's about a woman. Her name is Kami Foster, who returns home to care for her dying mother. And the story starts a short time after the funeral, where Kami's making decisions about what to do with the home she grew up in. And she has an older brother who's dealing with a PTSD condition. So there's some uncertainty that now that she's returned home, what's she going to do with this home? In the midst of all of this, she has to, or ends up facing, an old crush and his adorable 8-year-old son, and that makes it even more difficult to leave town again.
Mm.
There's a town council who wants Kami's property so they can expand it into a city park. And Kami's old crush just happens to be the contractor who is the construction bid. He's the one that put the construction bid with the city. So there's a conflict of interest there that comes into play. And during the story, her property is adjacent to a river that runs through the town that's threatening to flood with the spring runoff. So they've got that on top of it too. So there's a little bit going on in this story.
Oh, it sounds great. So it's a little bit of a departure from your romantic suspense.
It is.
It's
Mhm.
mostly a contemporary, sounds like a small town kind of thing.
Yes, it's a small town romance. It's a small town romance, contemporary sweet. But I was able to put enough suspense in there because that's still something that I enjoy reading myself,
Mhm.
with the flood and the what she has to deal with the town council, and so but it is a sweet romance. There's the relationship and the romance. A little bit of baseball for the boys and the little kids, and but any other scenes where we're kind of behind closed doors.
Oh,
Actually, there aren't any scenes that go behind closed doors.
I love the way you write. I think you're such a good writer. So
Thank you.
sounds like such a good book. I love small town romances. So
Yeah, I do too. That's one of my favorite reads, and I wanted to try my hand at it to see if I could make it happen. So,
good. Last question.
okay.
You're stuck on a desert island. Would you rather have a year's supply of chocolate or toilet paper?
Okay, probably the toilet paper because I love chocolate, and but if I'm stuck on the desert island, I'd probably tire of it. Whereas the other choice is somewhat of a necessity. So
You never get tired of toilet paper.
just kind of need that one more than I would the chocolate.
I know. And then I made that question and I thought, if you're stuck on a desert island, you're not going to get a choice of
Yes,
either of those things. So,
exactly.
but that's okay. What book would you take? Like your favorite fiction?
Oh, golly. You know, my first love of writing and reading came from Alistair MacLean. And The Guns of Navarone is one of the books I've read over and over again.
Really?
Yeah, it's also a movie. The
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
It doesn't follow the book exactly, but I'd probably take a supply of his.
Hmm.
Um, you know, there's a few other authors, if I could have a group of books I'd take, but you know, that's one that's pretty enjoyable for me. It's a real small, short read actually compared to novels these days, but yeah, it's a pretty
Especially
good,
ones like that, you
yeah.
know, kind of that sweeping historical epic kind of thing. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. This was a war story. Alistair MacLean made his heroes larger than life, and they were really fun to read.
mm,
Really, really fun to kind of get to know.
I love that. I'm reading Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz, and it's scary, but I was thinking just this morning, there is so much pleasure in reading something that is so well written. I
Yes.
just love that. And that's why, I mean, I'm the same as you. I adore reading.
Hmm.
And I think most people who write love to read
Yes.
because there's so much pleasure in just reading something that's beautifully written.
And getting that story. I love story. I just adore story, especially if it's crafted really well.
Stanley, thank you so much for coming on, agreeing to be on the book club with us today. And as a reader, remember, comment or question below in the comment section, and you'll be entered to win a copy of Into Something Good or one of my books, Jesse and James. And we'll leave the comments open for 24 hours and then we'll pick 2 winners. Stanley, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Jennifer or Jen. I appreciate you doing this today.
All right. Have a
A lot of
great night.
fun.